What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Sox Talk on Tap, where we just kind of go over, news, scores, everything going on just in Major League Baseball or baseball in general. I know I'm pretty sure we got Game 3 of the College World Series tonight, winner take all national championship between Texas and Tennessee. Tennessee won yesterday. Texas won game one, or Texas A&M won game one. So it's going to be an exciting matchup going into Game 3. You love to see, we got a Game 7 tonight for hockey, a Game 3 tonight for the College World Series. So we got a bunch of good sports going on right now, and we kind of need it because, sports is winding down, and baseball is going to be the only thing we're really going to have to watch. So, but anyways, getting into that, I want to go over some of the scores yesterday. Red Sox picked up the series win yesterday after dropping the first game to Cincinnati. They won Saturday and then picked up another win against Sunday. So they finished the road trip, I believe. I think it was 6-1. They finished the road trip. They're gaining ground in the wild card. They jumped the Royals. So if the season did end today, the Red Sox would actually be in the playoffs, surprisingly enough. But just going over the box score, it was a bullpen game for the Sox just because they don't really have that fifth starter right now, and that's something hopefully management will help them out with and give them a starter so that they can, whether it's a fifth starter or, a two guy, or if they can get a prominent starter, get him. But just somebody to help out this rotation because, going into tonight against the Blue Jays, you're pretty much banking on Tanner Houck going 7 innings because if you need to pull him early, your bullpen's going to be screwed for the rest of the series. But regardless of that, we'll see what happens tonight. But from yesterday, Connor Wong, he stays cooking at the dish. I think he should be an all-star. He's hitting .330. That leads all active catchers. Right now, I'm pretty sure he doesn't meet the minimum required ABs or something because he was splitting time early. But it would be, I think, first in the American League if it, qualified. Rob Refsnyder's still doing a great job in his role. He's hitting against righties and lefties, which is great to see. And then Jarren Duran, the guys, if he's not an all-star, I don't know what the threshold is. I don't know if we're just looking at home runs, which he had one, I think, 2 days in a row in Cincinnati. He didn't have one yesterday, but the first two games. And then his defense was unbelievable. On Saturday, robbed the game-tying home run in the 9th inning. So goes 3 for 5 yesterday, average all the way. He's getting that average closer and closer to 300. He's unbelievable. The turnaround he's had after, the awful year he had his rookie year and really year after that, where he just was out of it mentally, to be able to turn himself around like this has been unbelievable. And something that people don't talk about, I think, enough is Alex Cora and his impact on this team, because I think Alex Cora has turned this team into such a competitive team, such a more competitive team than it should be. Not just this year where, we're in playoff position as of right now. Obviously we have 85 games to go. But even in the past 2-3 years where the team had no business winning 80 games, and I believe they won 78 games last year. They finished with 85 losses the past 2 years. Had no business doing that. Management, it's almost like the movie Major League, where the management was trying to lose games. They just weren't signing anybody, weren't giving him any help, and yet he's still putting out a competitive lineup, still knows how to compete. So he's a free agent after this year, or a free agent manager, whatever you want to call it. The Red Sox need to retain him. They have to, because if you don't retain him and management doesn't, go and get big-name players or a big-name manager, you're screwed. Because Cora has been the reason that this team is as competitive as it is. But anyways, getting off the Red Sox, I told Jake I'd go into his Twins, because Pablo Lopez had a perfecto going. It's against the A's, so we can't, say it was insane. But anytime a guy strikes out 14 in 8 innings and has a perfecto going for 6 innings, you got to tip your cap, because it's still Major League Baseball. You're still going against Major League hitters. And the Twins are hot right now. They're staying right on pace with the Red Sox, so they're staying right above them. I believe they're the second wildcard team. I believe it's Baltimore, Minnesota, Boston. So correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the Twins swept the series. They should have swept the series, but now I want to go into a big surprise series for me at least was the Astros and the against the Orioles. This was, I believe, the first time since Adley Rutschman's been called up that the Orioles have been swept, and Rutschman got called up, I believe, close to 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. So that goes to show how competitive Baltimore's been, but this is kind of a big series loss, especially since the Yankees lost their series to the Braves. The Yankees pitching has not been there really. I know it was only 3-1 yesterday, but like Rodon got lit up. I believe the Yankees won yesterday, but their pitching really hasn't looked that great since the Red Sox series. So maybe Garrett Cole is going to turn that around now that he's back. He can kind of be their stopper, their true ace that they were missing, because as good as Luis Gil has been, I don't think he's their true ace. It's obviously still Garrett Cole, but now that we've talked about, some of the scores from yesterday, maybe preview a little bit, with the Red Sox coming up against the Blue Jays, I do want to look at something I want to touch on for a little bit. I got the stats pulled up here. Oops. The Red Sox prospects, just because I feel like that should be kind of a talking point that we have in this segment. And this is just some of the top prospects that are not top prospects, but top hitting prospects that the Red Sox have in their system. Marcelo Meyer, first-round pick. Kyle Teal's last year's first-round pick. They have so many guys hitting at, a pretty high level. I mean, AA and AAA. AA is really where you take that major league jump and you kind of prepare. Single A is more so for guys that are 19, 20 years old, just got drafted or got signed young, from an international league or whatever. But when you hit that AA level, that's when it's like, okay, now you're going to start seeing guys that are going to be throwing pretty similar to major league pitching. And so to see guys like Marcelo Meyer, I think he's 22 years old, hitting 300. Kyle Teal, who drafted last year, catcher, hitting 300. Nick Sogard, who I think could get called up at any point. Just the Red Sox bats are so hot, they're not going to mess with it. He's hitting 300 at AAA. So there's a ton of guys that I think are on the verge of being called up to that next level, especially in AA. The Red Sox have such a good AA system that, it's tough to call guys up when, like I said, you're going so good at the plate as a team, when all your outfielders are hitting, your infielders that you're bringing up are hitting. Anybody you plug into the lineup is hitting. It's tough to, call a guy up. The only real person I say you could replace is Bobby Dahlbeck, just because he's hitting, 130 and he strikes out more than half the time. It's like, okay, like if that's the threshold, then I'm sure so many guys on that AAA team you could call up and they'd do better than that. But, shout out to 2021 Bobby Dahlbeck, I guess. That Linsanity run he had is kind of over. But guys like Roman Anthony, guys who, like, I think he jumped all the way up to the Red Sox #1 prospect. He jumped over Marcelo Meyer, who was a really sought-after prospect in that draft, and he fell to 4 to the Red Sox. So the fact that Anthony was able to jump him, I know Meyer got hurt last year, and I believe AA ball, so he wasn't hitting the way he's hitting now. But Roman Anthony's a guy he's a great outfielder, has a lot of power, can hit for average, has speed. Like, he's a dude who I could see getting called up, depending on where they're positioned in the playoffs this September, but probably next year. He'd probably get called up like middle of the way through next year, along with all those guys, Marcelo Meyer, Kyle Teal. Blaze Jordan's been raking. He's a guy who has been, talked about since he was really young when he won that, I believe, high school home run derby thing. He was only like 18 years old. The Red Sox drafted him, I think, right out of high school. He's been a great power bat in their system. So just overall, the Red Sox system looks pretty good. Hopefully they can draft a pitcher this year, though, in the draft. I know Hagen Smith is or him and Jack Caglione, just because Caglione's like a big two-way guy, but they're not going to get either of those guys because Hagen Smith's projected to go like 6, and the Sox have the 12th pick. But just get one good arm this year from the draft, because you haven't done that the past few years. And yes, you've built up your prospect or your farm system to the point where now you have a bunch of good hitters, and you may be able to move one or two of them for a pitcher. But I think you have to build at least somewhat from within when it comes to pitching prospects. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not, some great MLB head scout or farm director, but I think you should try and build somewhat from within, because the Red Sox don't have any top pitching prospects right now. It's purely just the guys they have in the major leagues. Those were their pitching prospects, like Brian Bayo, who's been okay this year, kind of has been getting lit up, somewhat. I know he had a good start in Toronto, but he's been having trouble with the long ball and just his command, and that comes with a 24-year-old pitcher. But anyways, that's going to kind of wrap up the Sox Talk on Tap. I just wanted to touch on the, farm system, because that is a big piece in the Red Sox system, just as any major league team. All these guys don't get sent right to the MLB. Guys like Royce Lewis, Jake, he was a top prospect for the Twins, and now he's tearing the cover off the ball when he's on the field. He's just got to stay healthy, and he's, an incredible player, just like so many of these guys. But wanted to touch on that. We've got some games coming up this, tonight and throughout the week that we will talk about. Jake and I'm sure we'll talk about, Twins games, Red Sox games, etc. All the news going on. If anybody gets hurt or if anybody does anything incredible, we'll definitely touch on it. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch y'all tomorrow. Peace out.